Webinar starting. It says you're live now.
Yay! How fun is this? We're like a little bit crazy this morning doing a video live on Facebook at 8 o'clock in the morning. I mean, hello.
9 o'clock here.
I have makeup on. But Teri's on spring break, and she was so gracious to come on here and share a little fun success story for us, because she sent me a text last week and showed me her paycheck, and we had a happy dance because it had doubled from where it was last year. And so I would say Teri was on the struggle bus last year. Is that easy to say? Is that would that be?
Yeah, it was a big struggle bus. So it doesn't go backwards. We're not going to think like that.
Yeah. So she had a harder year last year, and it's kind of a block. And so she had to do something different because what she was doing wasn't working. And so Teri, will you kind of share like when you kind of made that shift, and then kind of what happened from there?
Well, let's start from a little bit sooner than that. When I became a coach in 2014, so it's been a few years, and right out the get-go, it seemed not like easy, but it was easier because I had more friends and more warm contacts, and I thought I was doing all of the things that all of the coaches around me, you and, everyone I was learning from was meet new people or make new friends on Facebook. So I was talking to my regular friends and doing all that. And I think I was 1 month shy of being a Success Club 10 legend. So I had like 23 months total. So it was like, okay, that was just a non-negotiable. But then all of a sudden, I just couldn't even get to Success Club 5 or 6 anymore. And I didn't know what was happening, but I kept, I was consistent with my workout. I posted on social media. I was making new friends, but the big thing was I wasn't building relationships with the new friends. I think that was my biggest problem, is that, while I probably made 5-ish friends a day, I never said hi to them. So I didn't, and then I got stuck like the middle of last year, and I didn't even know what to say to them because we had been friends on Facebook for 2 years, but it was like, how do you go back and start just randomly talking to someone and they don't even know who you are? Maybe they watch you on Facebook, but maybe they don't. I have no idea. So it just felt strange to me to be like, hey, I'm Teri, you want to work out? And so I just kept having this mental block. And so it went all of last year. My mind shift was, I'm not going to pressure myself. I'm not going to pressure people. And I'm just going to keep doing my thing because I'm being consistent and I'm doing the things that all of these other coaches are doing. So it's going to come to me sometime soon. And I think that was the wrong thing, because my mindset was, it's going to come to me if I keep being consistent. And
you were being consistent by just liking 5 friends a day.
That being proof of the product. And I thought making good posts on social media. I was watching the National Wake Up Call every week. I was getting on all of the team calls. I was doing all of the things. I was showing up. If you needed help, I'm volunteering. I'm there.
Yeah.
But it was the relationship building, like the actual talking, and I was even inviting, but I was inviting at a copy paste mode about probably 50 to 75 a week. Consistently, just copy and paste. You want to join my group? You want to join my group? But I was messaging it to people that I had no idea who they were.
And if they even needed what you were selling.
Yeah, they all those spam things that you put on the group and be like, don't send people this. I mean, but I didn't really see it as necessarily spam because I wanted to help them. I truly did, but I just didn't really get past in the relationship part. So after Summit last year, I went to one of the trainings somewhere, and then, I mean, people might have heard of the name Josh Coach. So I somehow crossed his path or whatever, and he had a special where you could join his group for 50% off. And I didn't really want to spend more money because, keep in mind, I don't know if he told me not to do it or to do it, but I spent $2,000 on the Chalene Johnson training.
Probably told you not to.
And I kick myself every single day. But I didn't want to spend more money on a training. I really didn't, but I didn't know what to do. So it was 50% off. So I joined Josh's training in the art of recruiting. And so I did that in, August was the first month. So August till now, I'm still doing it. And he has a tracker app. And like I said, I thought I was being consistent, but you have to send out 20 messages, just friend messages a day, like, hey, how are you doing? What you doing? Da, da, da. You have to send out 20 of those and then 10 invites a day. So what I learned from that is, one, I was not sending out 20 messages or 10 invites a day, whereas I thought I was being consistent, but I was not. So now I have a little calendar book that I have my 30 spots, and I have to fill up my 30 spots. I don't always get it done in the exact day, but I don't ever leave them blank by the end of the week. So if some days are busy or than others, then, or if I know the next day is going to be busy, I do extra. So, but I always fill up those 30 blanks by the end of the week.
So 20 of those blanks are just reaching out, just making conversation with people.
Right.
Right. Is there just like, I mean, you go to their Facebook page and like say, oh, I saw this. What is that? Do you ask questions? Like, what does that conversation look like?
Well, I start with
birthdays.
Yeah. And I've been going on my.
So say, for those that don't know what that means, she goes and messages people before their birthday. So if their birthday's on tomorrow, she will message them today and be the first one to wish them happy birthday.
And what I usually say, happy birthday. Are you doing something fun to celebrate? And then the biggest response I get back from people is from the question I ask. And most importantly, what kind of cake do you get to eat?
Oh.
And so then from there, people will tell me what they want to eat or what they don't want to eat. Or sometimes they'll be like, well, and, because they see that I do health and fitness or whatever. So they like that one. And I get the most response from that. Somebody told me the other day that they don't eat cake and their kids gave them a veggie platter. So that started a good conversation.
Yeah, for sure. So would you like to be a coach?
Yeah. So then I also go into the On This Day app and scroll through the things that I've done in previous years and kind of click on them to see who commented and who liked. And that'll give me another source of people to reach out to. So I reach out to those. And then now it's been in the Insta stories. I have my Insta stories set up to connect with my Facebook stories. So I just go and see who watches them, and then I usually send them a message. Now, right now it's, some of the same people. So obviously I don't repeat sending a message to the same people all the time. But like yesterday, I just randomly started sending out to people that have watched it regularly, just saying something like, hey, how are you, blah, blah, blah. And then, thanks for watching my story. Have you ever considered doing a fitness program like me? And like 3 people wrote back yesterday and said, yes, they were wanting to do something, but then they told me about they were a busy mom and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So
tell me a little bit about what changed, we're talking a lot about mindset this month. So tell me a little bit about how your mindset changed, and what that looked like for you.
The biggest mindset shift has been in getting focused back on what I did. Before I started being a Beachbody coach, I ran a lot and I play tennis a lot, which Stephanie tells me I'm not supposed to play as much tennis, but I haven't listened to her on that one yet either. Maybe I do say no more than I did before. If I know I'm behind on my 30 numbers and stuff, I get really tense and agitated, so I won't play tennis well, so I'll say no. So but the mind shift has been, I think about my race when I ran this Virginia Beach half marathon. It was like in 2012, and I wanted to get under 2 hours. And so if you run or if you know anything about it, it's hard to get under 2 hours if you're running a half marathon. And so comparing the running to coaching, everyone says in coaching, you have to look out in the future and then reverse engineer by quarterly, by monthly, by weekly, by daily. So you sort of have to do that when you're running, if you're thinking it of the whole 13 miles, then 1 mile at a time, or, 1/4 of a mile at a time. So I kept looking at my watch to make sure that I was on track to get under 2 hours. On the very last stretch, it was along the beach. I don't know how long it was, but it was longer than you wanted to sprint. At the beginning of it, I could see the finish line, this big finish line. I could see it. I look at my watch, and I knew I could make it there, but I was going to puke at the end.
My son pukes after every 400 he runs. So.
I knew I was going to puke, but I knew I could make it. And I knew if I didn't at least try, then I was going to be mad because I had trained all of that time. I had run 13 point whatever miles, and all I had was this last stretch, and I had to go. And so I just take that thought, because I can put myself right there any given time. And I'm like, if I get hesitant in coaching, I just say, you're at the thing. You can see the finish line. Just look at your watch and just go. And so I did make it 1:59:56 on that race. And even though it was only 0.04 of a second, I still made it under 2 hours.
Right.
I did almost puke. I always run with a cloth in my shorts because it's sunny, but I didn't do it, but I almost did. I could control my brain. I did get caught in the bathroom and I couldn't stand up anymore, but that's okay. I made it. So I just have to go back to the runner's mentality of they're not going to come to you. You have to get it.
Right.
You have to work for it.
The other thing I saw that when you were, when we've been sharing back and forth is not only like kind of you go back to, that competitive nature, but you also talked about how you shift in providing value, and how you talked about how you didn't know what value meant, right? And so you would get stuck there.
Yes. And I still am working on that, because my definition of value is probably different than maybe a different coach that's what I consider more successful than myself. A lot of people will come back and say that I am helping them and I'm providing motivation and encouragement and this and that. But to me, I don't really define that as value, even though I think it is valuable. But for me, it's like, I don't know. I just want it to be bigger and something really big, because I'm really goal oriented, and it has to have a purpose and that sort of thing. So in talking with Stephanie in the last couple months is just, I'm trying to do better at having the 5-day free groups and not look at it as a place where the people have to comment and participate in this and that. I could still be providing them value, and it doesn't mean they have to buy something at the end. Obviously we want people to come on as our challengers, but it doesn't have to be like right at the end of the 5 days, I guess. So
what you're doing is just adding value without having anything in return. I think you're really good too about adding value, like sharing, I know a lot of people come back to you and say, thank you so much for sharing about having a blended family and how you were able to do this. And so it's not just fitness and not Beachbody, vomiting Beachbody, but it's sharing how you're raising your teenagers, and, having a blended family, and, how your kids, and I think that is something that is also really, really helpful.
I'm taking my focus on and putting it more on being a busy mom. I'm getting that a lot lately, and maybe I'm getting it a lot more lately because I keep talking about it a lot more lately. Because like I said, Stephanie said I play on 2 minute tennis teams. I play on 5 tennis teams. I have 3 kids, and they each do a different sport. And I have a new husband, an ex-husband, 2 stepsons, and everybody's everywhere. But while 5 tennis teams may be excessive, that's true. I'm really good at my time and efficiency, and it's not been in the past the tennis that's been, I don't think that's been my block. If it was my block, if I felt like it was truly my block, then I would have quit, because this is more important to me than that. But yeah. I don't feel like that's my block. It's not been my block. My block in investigating further has been, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And when I compare to other people, one, you're not supposed to compare yourself, but but when I do, it's been, I believe I'm good enough, but it doesn't look like I am right now on paper. Mm-hmm. And so that's been another shift. Is my middle daughter has run cross country and is now running track. And so that connects with my running in my head. Yeah. And so I've seen her go out there and do things. And while she does have coaches, like her cross country meets, I practically ran them all with her and coached her through the entire thing. And on the very last race, she actually listened to me, and she took 3 minutes off of her time. And so then we've been doing this for track, and sometimes she listens to me, sometimes not, but it kind of put a thought in my head, like, well, you are good enough. You're just as good as those other coaches that are there. But I guess I wasn't giving myself credit for it. Yeah. So I just have to stay in the mindset that you are good enough.
And that's so hard. I mean, I think, that you were saying, like, I'm not adding value. And you realize, like, okay, I am adding value. And you're realizing, like, hey, I am good enough. And all those things are such blocks. Like, and you were talking to people, you thought you were doing all the right things, but you tweaked it a little. You were missing the main part, right? The relationship part. You were missing that part. And that's so huge. And so, there was another.
I had relationships with the people that I was already friends with and that I already knew and that I would meet in person. It's just the new people. Because you get to a place where you run out of your warm market and you get into this place that, I mean, when I started coaching, when I met you, I had 300 friends on Facebook, and now I have 4,000, which isn't a huge, huge number, but to go from 300 to 4,000 in 2.5 years and not even build relationships with those 3,000 people. I mean, there's 3,000 people there that are my friends, but it's hard to figure that out. So now when I get at the end of that strip and I run toward the finish line, I've been making a message of, sorry, I didn't reach out to you sooner. I hope you didn't mind. I sent you a friend request. I can't believe we haven't connected until now. And that's kind of opened the door. And some people write back and be like, oh, that's cool, whatever. And then we can start a conversation from there. Some of them don't write back, and that's fine too. But that's kind of where it is. But, the biggest thing, and obviously there'll still be something to work on, because what am I, 43 now, and not being good enough. If you add on different things through your whole life that you build up to tell you you're not good enough.
Right.
And then, you just kind of have to overcome that. So,
well, I think I think what I love about your story is that you were consistent, and the fact that you started Josh Codes in August, you did 20 for 5 days a week, 20 new, 20,
and I did not do anything. Nothing happened with that from August, September, October, November. I finally got back to Success Club 6. December, I got to Success Club 14, I believe. And then January, I think I got to 24. And then February, what did I get to? 14. And then March, I got to 14. So.
And that's huge, because a lot of people do it 1 month and they're like, fine. Like, they would have given up, right? If they would have sent 20 messages and 10 invites 5 days a week for a month, and didn't hit Success Club for that many months, they would have given up. But that's
I didn't hit Success Club most of last year.
But the whole thing is that you were doing the things and you were trusting the process, right? You were building those relationships, and a lot of times that's why it's so important to be doing 20 and 10 every day.
I need to actually
building authentic authentic relationships, and authentic relationships take time. And so for 4 months, you were building relationships, and you were inviting people and they were saying no, but then, and then it just like snowballed. And so I think that's huge for a lot of our coaches, because I feel like they give up too soon, and they forget that like it's a dating game. You're not going to ask someone to marry them on the first date, right? I mean, you're going to get to know them, and you're going to find out what they're like and what they're, and that then you can move in for that. And so I just feel like, we're not building relationships. And I think that's so key. And you had a huge mental shift in that. The fact you thought you were doing all the right things, but you really weren't. And then when you started doing the right things, it took time to see.
Well, I was missing just one thing. And I think that's key, in that if you compare it right back to your fitness journey, and, we're helping coach people through fitness programs, if you're not drinking all your water, getting all your rest, taking your self-care, following your program, drinking your Shakeology, if you're missing one thing, you're not going to get as good of results as you would have if you were doing all 5 things, or, however many there are consistently. And you constantly hear, as, in coaching, you're constantly hear for people doing their fitness program. I got, a couple messages yesterday about, well, how do you keep going? And, they want to give up before they actually see any results. But I know in fitness, again, I have to relate everything back to fitness, because that's where I feel comfortable and that's what I know. I know if I'm doing a program, I'm not going to see a result in a week.
Right.
I mean, I've been running since 2006, like 25 miles a week or so, through injury. That's how I got into Beachbody coaching, being a coach for a little over 4 years, doing programs. And, I don't mess up on my, I do work out every single day. I play tennis 4 times a week, but do I have abs that go straight across? No. And I can't figure it out for the life of me, but one day it's going to come.
One day you're going to have the 6-pack.
One day, but I mean, maybe it's not in my genetics. Maybe it's the 3 C-sections. I don't really know, but I mean, you've been out to eat with me, and you do think I don't really mess up on my food. I follow it. So,
but you know that it's possible, and you're not giving up, and I think that's the main thing. And you're learning, you're tweaking, and you'll do that with your abs too. You'll end up tweaking, you'll try to figure it out. And at some point you're going to have a rock hard 6-pack abs. 2 more things before we go, because I wanted to keep this, fairly brief, but I think it's so amazing. And I wanted our coaches to hear from you, because I'm so proud of you for staying the course. And I could cry, because I know how hard it's been. So anyway, I know how hard it's been. But so one of the things that kind of gave you a little hustle was you had to get a part-time job.
Oh yeah. How could we forget?
How could we forget?
Well, I was working full-time when I first met you and became a coach. And 6 months after I became a coach, I just randomly decided to quit my job and do this full-time. And Stephanie did tell me not to do that. However,
she obviously doesn't.
Is there a theme here? You should all listen to Stephanie.
Right?
Okay. But in my case, I am 200% happier having quit that job 6 months after, even though my financial part wasn't where I needed it to be. It wasn't, and it still is not. But in the place that I was at, coming from out of a divorce and getting into a new marriage and all that stuff, I just couldn't stay in that job. And then I remember that feeling. And then last year was so challenging that I decided to get a part-time job in an effort to, one, kind of appease my husband, to be like, yes, I'm trying to do something. And 2, I was in such a bad place that I needed some extra money. So I wanted to find a part-time job that, 1, was definitely temporary, and 2, could coincide with coaching, so that I could meet people to kind of transfer that over. And so I took a part-time job at David's Bridal, being a dress specialist there. They have like bridal Christmas from January to April. So December was the training. We went through 2 weeks of extensive training. And then we got put on the floor, thrown out to the wolves on January. It's like Black Friday in the dress market. I did meet lots of people. I tried to connect with the manager to see, because so many people trying on wedding dresses and bridesmaid dresses, they don't feel happy and confident. So it made me see another side of people from that angle.
Yeah.
I met a lot of people, as customers, but more importantly, I met people that worked there, and I looked at my paycheck a lot. It was only $10 an hour. So I was going and working 5-hour shifts on your feet all day, talking to people, being exhausted, listening to other people tell me where I had to be and what I had to do. And I'm not really good at that. And so my husband and I was very offended when I told him a story, and he said, "You are not easy to manage." And I was offended by that. But, I'm not easy to manage because I don't.
Obviously, you don't listen to what I have to say. I tell you.
I come to it on my own.
Yeah. But I mean, everyone has to come to it on their own. And what the thing was is that drove you crazy. You hated being told what to do. And so that
I cried every day driving there. I cried every single day driving there.
And that was something that I was really kind of glad that, and it's kind of like, I think that was good for you, because it really made you go, okay, I'm not going to have this happen. And it put that fire back in you to go, I'm not going to work another job. This is my passion. This is what I'm doing.
My kids were crying, because I couldn't come to their things. They were sad that I couldn't be there for them. Like, what do you mean? It was stressful to me to try and figure out their schedules, and my schedule, and try to do everything. And at $10 an hour, I'm going there and making $50 a shift. And that's one challenge pack, people. And so
exactly.
That's helping one person get healthy and fit.
Well, and there's a lot of people on our team that work jobs that, if they use this seriously and they took that passion and they worked really hard, they wouldn't have to go to a day job. They wouldn't have to, have a side, job. This would be their side job, and they would be able to be with their kids, and they wouldn't cry every time they go to work, and their kids wouldn't cry every time they leave for work, right? Because this is the answer, but you have to figure it out. You have to be willing to be coachable and learn new things and tweak things and listen to your mentor and, all those things. Okay, last thing. One of the last points I want to share is that you also figured out how to I think it has a lot to do with, because you were working hard and it gave you confidence and you saw the results, your coaches then saw the results and you were able to coach them to do the same. And then your check started growing because of that as well.
Yeah. Yes. And I still don't, I've signed more coaches in the first 2 months this year than I did probably all of last year total. So that's good. I'm still working on figuring that out, but I have seen a difference in the paycheck it used to be just in the retail commissions part where I would see my paycheck, but now it's in different parts of that check. So you can see the fast start bonus and the team bonus. And when you see numbers going there, you're like, well, how did that number get there? Why is it there? And how can I make it bigger? And so I'm more focused on, I obviously like helping people and talking to people and love fitness. But for me, I signed, and Stephanie told me I was only probably one of 2 people in her whole 11 years of coaching that just signed up just randomly, didn't know anything about it. And here I am, but I signed up for the business opportunity. I did not sign up for fitness. And so that's kind of, a little bit cool, but also challenging, because it's just I want people to just come jump in and do it. And, but seeing the different numbers on the check has been eye-opening to be I want to get that place bigger. How can I put a number in that? Because for so many, the numbers have been zero here, 0. I'm like, how do you get numbers there?
And that's important. So it's great. You did those behaviors, you were doing that, you're teaching your team, and then that's how you earn even more money. But you can't just do retail, sell a couple of challenge packs and just enjoy the residual off that.
Right.
You had that, but now you've added those fast start bonuses, which are challenge pack sales. and then you're teaching your team. And then that's where the other part of the check is coming in, and that's the team cycle bonus. And that's what's so beautiful about this business, is because you don't have to feel like you're a hamster in a wheel. Retail sales is hamster in a wheel, right? You're just having to
continue. And that's what I've always been good at. Like, ever since I was probably in elementary school, I've always been good at quote unquote sales. I could sell anything, but it's not just about that. So I'm trying to focus a little bit more now on figuring out what those numbers are. Like the most recent thing and it's sad that I didn't know this till then. Maybe I heard of it, but just didn't pay attention to it. But if you sign 5 coaches in 5 weeks, you get $100 bonus, and you can put $100 in that little slot.
Oh,
so I'm gonna try to get that one.
That's a great one. Well, anyway, I just thank you so much for sharing. I thank you for I know you're on spring break, but I just wanted to come on here and share your story with the team, because it's just so powerful. So a lot of coaches are feeling where you are. They feel like, well, I'm doing the things, it's not happening. So listen to Teri's story, figure out like, what are some things that you can relate to from her story? Are you doing the things, but you aren't building the relationship? Are you not doing the things? Are you not consistently? I mean, 20 a day, 20 conversations, 10 invites a day is a lot. And a lot of us think, I know for me, like, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally do that. But then when you have to write it down, like you're like, oh yeah, really.
One thing that I've learned is 20 seemed like a lot in the beginning. And in the beginning, when I started in August, it literally took me all day to send 20 messages. Now I can get it done probably in 45 minutes.
Wow.
So if you are intentional, because again, I play tennis and my kids go where they go, and I have my little routine that I have going on. And if I know I have to get my 20, I can sit down, and if you don't think about it and you don't get nervous about it, and you just send 20 messages, bam, 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 you can get it done in such little time.
And you're sending and you have and also the thing I think that when it takes longer is when you're overthinking it, right? You're like, yes. What do I need to say? Like, just like you would talk to 20 friends, like reach out, like, where'd you get that outfit? Whatever. And you had sent those people that you had, added friends a long time ago. You sent messages like, okay, I'm so embarrassed. I friended you and I didn't.
Yeah. I printed out my actual Facebook friends list a few months ago, like on paper, because I don't like technology that much. Yeah. I printed it all out. So I was following and checking them off, and then the birthdays and the on this day. I find if I have a list, sometimes I'll make it the night before, so that way in the morning, if I send them out. My big thing, I haven't really officially read the whole book, the Eat That Frog book, but my thing is invites. So I will do everything before I do invites. So now I try to tell myself, do the invites first thing in the morning. If you can get those 10 invites done in the morning, I mean, I'm easy to send out 20 messages. I can send them out at 10 o'clock at night, boom, as long as I get them done before I go to bed. But it's those invites that I hesitate and then I skip, and those are the most important things. But you won't really feel comfortable doing the invites if you don't keep up with your 20 messages.
Right, because you can't invite people until you start building relationships with people. So
you could copy and paste 100 each week, but it won't work.
Exactly. Exactly. Such great information. I hope you guys enjoyed this call. Thank you, Teri, so much for sharing your success. And I look forward to watching even more success from you. And your team. Bye, guys.
Bye.